Lydia Caesar.
Yes, I'm here finally.
Finally. How you doing today?
I'm doing great today. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. I think last time I don't know, did I see you? I don't know if I ran across you at the show with SCL Fest.
Yes, I did see you. You were running around, hustling, doing what you do. But yeah, that was a great day. Yeah.
How's your day going so far?
Good. Just doing the mom thing. I'm a full-time mom and artist too. So most of my days are spent working from home and being a mom to my kids. So summer is here, which is fun for us moms. School is out.
Right.
So I think camp starts like next week. So for now, it's hectic in my household. But I love that. I think it's good to have a busy life, a good busy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we just kind of start from the beginning with you.
Okay.
So you originally from New York?
I am.
Yeah. Which part of New York?
I'm from Queens.
Okay.
Queens represent. Love my borough. I love being from Queens, New York. It made me who I am. So I'm definitely a proud New Yorker.
How would you describe your life growing up in Queens?
So I am what people call a PK, which is a preacher's kid. So I grew up very family oriented, church every Sunday, family night once a week, family vacations every year. Really close to my siblings. I have an older sister and a younger sister and a younger brother. So we're all really close. Just a great family dynamic. I saw an example of like strong relationship from my parents, and it's definitely helped shape who I am today as a mom and a wife. And also I saw creativity a lot as a young girl because my mom is a playwright and an author. So I watched her hustle her books and her plays and her shows, and all of that has definitely taken its part on my life. And then also just being the first family at church, I had to be in the pulpit a lot, singing and like presenting and speaking. So that definitely helped shape me too as an artist. It's easy for me to speak and be in front of tons of people because I've basically been doing that since I was a little girl.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, did you get your start with your singing career
at church?
Yeah.
Like so many singers, soul singers, we grew up singing from when we were young. So definitely got my start singing in the choir and doing solos and stuff at church.
When exactly, I'm gonna ask you this. I guess the song St. Louis,
yes,
kind of self-explanatory. People who listen to it.
Yeah.
I just asked you, how did you meet your husband, right?
Yeah, so I met my husband Wayne, who's from St. Louis, U City to be specific, because U Cityans are real serious about that.
Yeah.
Yes. So we met at a show in New York where I lived. He was living there as well, and a friend of his was like, "You gotta come see this artist. She's amazing." and so he came to my show, and I met him there, and we just became friends. Just like industry friends, and a couple months later we wound up connecting via social media. I actually slid in his DMs on Facebook, to keep it fully real. And I asked him on a date. I was like newly single, and I was just, I had always seen him online. And so I asked him, was he in a relationship first? Because I ain't never trying to be that one. And he said that he was single, so we started to date. And we fell in love really fast. I always say, like, since that day, we've like spoken, communicated every single day in some way, shape, or form, and he is who inspired my song, St. Louis. I wrote it early in our dating time, and I had never met anybody from St. Louis, and he was just different naturally because he wasn't from New York, so he was, guys are different. Women, I guess, probably are too. But guys, for sure, I know, are different from like Queens dudes to Brooklyn dudes are different. So naturally, he's going to be different from anybody I'd ever dated or experienced life with because he was from a whole nother state. Even just the way he talked, was like, oh, so cute to me. It's just different. So he inspired that song. And, you know, we wound up staying together and getting married, and he done moved me out here to St. Louis. So that, I always say, like, that song, I kind of like wrote my destiny when I wrote that song.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And he went away. He got a queen from Queens.
He got a queen from Queens. Yes, I love
and then
that.
They say, ain't no good man here in St. Louis. Obviously.
Yeah, there are great. I mean, for me, I've had women at shows like, who she met? What St. Louis she singing about? It's always fun, you know. And then there's also women who are like, that song means so much to them because they love their man, their St. Louis man. So, you know, everyone's always going to have different experiences. I just love how that song brings out just different flavors. All the guys are always like, yeah, you know, that's what a St. Louis do, you know. So, very fun song.
Yeah. I believe at the SCL Fest Media Day, I think Shorty Da Prince, Reggie Son.
Yes.
Said he introduced the song.
He
right?
did. So that song was like opened mad doors for me. It was one of the first songs that made it like my television debut. At that time, 106 in Park was still very much a thing, and Shorty Da Prince at the time was what he went by, was one of the hosts of the show. And he introduced the song, and he had mad pride on it, you know.
Yes,
the girl was like, Lydia Caesar with St. Louis, and he like, you know it, you know. So it was just awesome to do STL Fest, because it was really like a full circle moment, just being able to share that platform with him, knowing that, you know, we have a little bit of history with that song on 106 in Park.
Gotcha. And after you got flued out to St. Louis.
Right. I flew out.
How would you describe your experience here in the city once you got here and kind of settled in?
Yeah, so I didn't really know what to expect. Naturally, I expected the worst coming from New York. I was just like, man, I'm going from a big city to a small city. I didn't expect much. But I will say I was pleasantly surprised when I got here, because there is a scene here and there's a lot of talent, right? So my husband and I, like, we got to work right away. Shout out to Cash Cones, Thomas Cones with Cones Entertainment. He's one of the first people to put me on his shows. He does a lot of shows now with Remy Martin, and he still has me. Like, I've opened for Melanie Fiona and Shantae Moore and Life Jennings on his platform. When I first got here, though, he was doing, you know, stuff on a smaller scale, just all local acts, and I was one of the artists that he put on at some of his shows. And then my husband also, he's an engineer, so he had a studio here. So, you know, we started to work and record right away. And shortly after, we started our label called Sauce Records, where we would produce shows and record artists and put records out. So we had a showcase called the Center Stage Showcase, which is actually coming back end of the year too, so stay tuned for that. But we did it for like every other month for like 2 years straight at the Ready Room. COVID kind of put a halt on it, and so now we're about to pick it back up. But we put like almost 100 artists on stage over that past 2 years, over that 2 year span. We did projects with A Game and MC Trey and Philly Phil. So we really just we just dove in as soon as we got here, and just started to work. We used that New York hustle that we both had, and that that U City prowess, I guess, and we just combined. We started to make a lot of things happen. So I would say St. Louis has been great for both of us career-wise. It's a tough crowd. I will say, like, you would think New York is tougher, but they say if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
They say about any city.
I feel like if you could make it in St. Louis, because St. Louis crowds will be like, what else? They'll just be like, oh, that was cute. They'll just stare at you. You could be standing on your head, hitting a high note, and they're gonna be like, okay. They want you to earn their applause and their respect, and I respect that. I don't think that I've always felt like lately in the game, mediocrity is celebrated a lot, right? The real raw talent is like almost a thing of the past. So I appreciate a space where they're not gonna clap for just anything. If you get a standing ovation in St. Louis, you did something. Yeah. So I can respect that.
Did it take you a while to did it take audience in St. Louis a while to adjust to your sound?
I would say no. I felt a welcome with open arms as soon as I got here. You know, I would get on stages and people would receive my gift. I think that's, you know, partially why I have such a love for this city. I mean, it gave me my husband, but also they've opened their arms to me, and I feel like this city like appreciates my talent. So.
Be honest, I never heard you speak until I met you in person at the media day.
Okay.
And I would never thought you was from New York. I would just thought you was from St. Louis. I just thought you. I'm like, why does she sound like New York or something? And somebody said, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yeah, I get that all the time out here. Like that, they're just like, "Where are you from?" When I start to talk, and then, but it's so funny because when I go home, they think I'm like country. They're like, you got an accent now. You starting to sound country. So I guess I did pick up a little St. Louis twang, I guess, but at the heart and core of it, I don't know if I'll ever lose my New York accent just because it's, you know,
exactly.
More of my life has been spent there. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like the St. Louis music scene as far as like the singers, R&B side of it?
I think there's a lot of talented people in St. Louis. Like I said, when I first came, I didn't know what to expect. New York is so unique because it's a melting pot of different cities. So there's so much talent there because like I feel like the best of each city kind of leaves to go to like a New York or a LA or maybe even like Atlanta. So those cities are full of great talent, but they're not necessarily homegrown talent, you know? So I've definitely gotten to see some of the best that St. Louis has to offer. Like I have some of my favorites naturally, like I love Aloha and Shylin and Lakes the Voice. Drea Vocals is my friend and also one of my favorites. Miley is also great. So I think that there's, and that's just a few. I could go on and on, you know. Because there's a lot of talented women in this city, especially in the R&B side of things. So, and what I do appreciate is that we all everyone welcomed me. We're all cool. There's no like catty petty beef between the women, you know, and even the men on the R&B scene. Like we all show props and respect and go to each other's shows and stuff like that. And that's not always the case, so I can appreciate that.
For sure. But talk about your recent EP,
yes.
Legendary Love.
Legendary Love. So the title really kind of speaks for the work. I think that people who have done the work, right? When I say done the work, I mean like the self-work. And they are living as their best selves, you know. I think that people like that deserve the highest level of love, and love that's not just fly by night. Like we were talking right before the camera started rolling about people who have backups, and if you have a backup, that's essentially cheating, you know what I mean? So I think that this culture that we're in is so toxic. The relationships are so toxic. It's like it's scary actually.
Yeah.
And social media plays a big part in that. And so I wanted to write a record that really talks about a love that's different, like different from where we are right now. A love that goes back to like our parents' time when love meant something, you know. And I think that people want that legendary love. They want a love that's gonna be, you know, the song says that they're gonna write about us, you know, when we're gone. And, you know, our names like are etched in stone like forever. I think that people really still want that kind of love. It's just harder to find. So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's climate. I still wanted to sing about a legendary love. And the EP is still versatile. You know, it does talk about like heartbreak and all that because that's natural. And I do think that honestly that's sometimes a part of a love that can become legendary and monumental. Like, you know, I say this all the time, like you argue with your mom, right? You may not get along with her all the time, or you argue with your brothers and sisters, your best friends. Y'all are not always on the same page, but you don't leave them. You don't leave your mama, find a new mama. You know what I'm saying? You know, most people don't just abandon their friendships because they had a disagreement. You know, you work it out. But we can be so quick to like leave our partner over disagreements and like not seeing eye to eye, which is crazy. You know, if you, the same way you'll fight for your family, if this is the one for you, you're supposed to fight for that person too. So I think that heartache and, you know, pain or whatever can play a part in creating a legendary love as well. So the EP is definitely well-rounded. But at the end of the day, it says all the songs you leave feeling like I deserve a legendary love. So
what would you say are some of the keys to having a long-lasting, healthy relationship?
So I waited tables for years in St. Louis and New York, right? That was always like my go-to in-between job. Like if I ever needed just extra money, I was gonna wait tables just because I like people and I actually love waiting tables. So I had a lot of anniversary dates and I would ask every time there was an anniversary, however many years, 5, 10, 40 years, I would always ask them, what's the secret? And 90% of the people said communication. And at first I used to just be like, that's just like the cliche answer, it's so cheesy. But the more I grew in my relationship and just in life, I realized that answer does make the most sense, right? Because it's not just communication, it's good communication. It is not waiting to talk in an argument. It's listening and responding to what your partner said. A lot of times we won't even hear what our partner says. Like you're communicating, but you're not really, you're not listening. You know what I mean? He's talking, she's talking, you're not even listening. You're just waiting.
You wait to say what you guys say. You heard your one part and I ain't hear nothing else.
Nothing. So while a lot of people think they're out here communicating and the relationships aren't working out, it's not proper, effective communication, which involves mostly listening and then making a decision or response based on what you heard. And that goes both ways. And once you get that part down, that's hard to get down though. Like it's really hard because we are naturally creatures of we're like self-centered. So even like fights, like arguments are mostly pointless because the arguing is so loud. You don't even hear each other. You just yelling, you know, you're just angry. The anger is so loud that you don't hear, you know. So if you can learn how to argue well, right? An argument in the sense that we may not agree, but we're both going to be heard, you'll have less of the same argument. A lot of times relationships are full of the same fight for years, like because you two aren't really listening, the anger has taken over. So once you learn how to like put that anger to the back and really learn to listen to one another and effectively communicate, I think that is the key to any long-lasting relationship, is knowing how to speak and understand your partner effectively. And I think that that's something that's just really hard to do. And that's why so many relationships don't make it.
Yeah, for sure. Now you just spoke about like arguing and things like that. The track Heart and
yes.
The Ones We Love.
Yeah.
It's kind of two different tracks, but a similar topic.
Yeah.
Speaking about like couples going through tough times in a relationship. Mm-hmm. One first question I have is, what advice, we just kind of gave that, like advice for couples going through those tough times.
Yeah.
Or where it's moments where like say one party may feel unappreciated.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think to not get comfortable, you know, that's my advice. Like that's what The Ones We Love, it says, think about how you are in the beginning of the relationship, right? You're like, you don't even love this person yet, but you are like showing up, you are looking your best, you are, you know, that's when your representative is the one on the date, the person who like, you putting the best of you forward, you know. You may let things slide, you may be more patient with the person because it's new and you want to make a good impression. Then you fall in love and you have years and you become comfortable in and don't get it twisted, you should be able to be like your natural authentic self with your partner, but your best self is what you should still be putting forward. You should still have, if you had patience in the beginning, you should still try to practice patience later on in the relationship, but we get comfortable and complacent. We do it on our jobs, we do it in everything, and we need to do better in that space when it comes to our partners, because the last thing your partner wants to feel is like they've been taken for granted or like they're not appreciated. And that's what tends to happen. So that's why the song says, why are we the way we are with the ones we love? When these are the people who deserve everything, the best of you. So that's just my encouragement, is for you to like do a relationship check and see like, what can I be doing different? How can I be that earlier version, that better version of myself each day for my partner?
Gotcha. And you and your husband kind of speak on these topics with the Married to Music
Yes,
podcast.
with the Married to Music podcast. So we talk about music, money, and marriage, which, is like our core topics for our audience. And everybody that we have on, we always like tap into how they feel about relationships, because I think it's important also to get other perspectives and hear other people who look like us share what works for them. We had a guest on, the same gentleman I mentioned before, Thomas Combs from Combs Entertainment. He's been married to his wife, I think, for like 16 years or something. And we asked him what there's his secret is, and he said therapy. And I thought that was just a great perspective to hear on a podcast like ours, because a lot of times young people, especially young Black people, are like, I'm going to pass on the therapy. It's becoming more popular, which I think is great, because we need to talk about things. We like to keep things in, We don't want to share if something's bothering us. We don't necessarily want to cry and fuss and fight about it. We just going to deal with it, tuck it away, and hopefully it'll just go away. And it doesn't, So therapy is really important to like be able to just talk to somebody else about things, hash things out. So yeah.
And you also have the Sassy Wife, where you kind of, it was your own thing.
Yes, I need to get back on my. I've been slacking on the Sassy Wife. I mean, it's so many hats. Like, I sing, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and then I produce shows, and I have the YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok. It is like literally 5 full-time jobs. But the Sassy Wife is still, the videos, like I still get like so many views on some of these videos on my channel. And that was basically just like me wanting to share my insight on like relationships and being a wife, and things that have worked for me, because like my whole motto is that we can all love better. No matter how much you think you know, or even I know, we can always learn when it comes to love. So that's why I started the Sassy Wife, to just basically share and hopefully help us as a community to love better. Because I think that's, hurt people is a really true term. And I think if we can heal, we'll all be better towards one another.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Have you ever checked out late Kevin Samuels'
Yes,
content?
I did.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Just the content.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say I wasn't a fan of everything. Some points he made well. I just feel the way he communicated his points didn't feel like they came from a loving place a lot of times. And I feel like this is true in relationships too, right? You can tell a guy, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever, you can say to him, hey, I see so much potential in you. I feel like there are great things in your future. I just want to see you put more focus and dedication into your dreams and your passions. And I think that's going to help you really ultimately become the man you're supposed to be and the man you want to be. Right? Mm-hmm. Or you could say, you a bum. All you do is sit around the house. You lazy. You ain't got no money. Right?
Yeah.
Which
same thing, but it's
same thing. You're basically saying the same thing. Maybe he is lazy and he just sits around him. But you bring that the second way to him, and he gonna be like, I ain't trying to hear it.
Yeah.
Because you're tearing him down. in the first way, you're saying the same things to him, but you're saying it in a way that's going to help build him up and encourage him and motivate him. So I feel like in some ways, some of the things that Kevin Samuel said was just mean. Like, he just came off like really mean and nasty, while he may have been saying the right thing. And then also you have to understand he was a social media entertainer too.
I believe that's what took over the entertainment part.
Yes, and that the you a bum, all of that theatrics is funny, shareable. The first way mean okay, cool. She's encouraging, nice. What else? You know, social media likes that shock value.
I think that's what got him more popular. He grasped on it and he kept going with that.
Yes.
Because in the beginning he was kind of like, he was speaking more to men too.
Right, for sure.
I think he took over with primarily doing with women.
Because that's what people gravitated towards, Exactly. And so I know he was an intelligent man and he had some good points. I just feel like the delivery wasn't always the most palatable, so that's why people loved him or hated him. Yeah.
Speaking of like just the YouTube and then like the Instagram and all that, you're a graphic designer?
I do. Okay, so I don't want to say, I guess I am a graphic designer.
You are.
I am. Everything that you see from me, I design, like my flyers, all my like thumbnails and all that stuff. I had to learn, just because, first of all, money, it can get expensive. And then also, like, a lot of times if I did hire somebody, like my sister has been my graphic designer my whole career. Mm-hmm. She's an incredible visionary, great. She did like the Married to Music logo, my husband's Baby Wayne logo. She's great at logos and graphics. So I'm spoiled for like great work. And if she was busy and I had to book somebody else, a lot of times I'd get the flyers back or whatever and not be happy. I'd just be like, this ain't it. So I learned on my own how to use Photoshop so that I could do it myself. And I know I'm going to be happy with the results that I put out there, because
this is what you want.
It's what I want. So I've learned that. I'm not going to say like I'm taking on jobs. I could, though. I guess if it ever came down to it, I could do your flyer if you need.
I used to make my own thumbnails, and now I pay somebody to do it now.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work.
It takes time.
It does take time.
That's probably longer than me editing this interview.
Right. You could chop quick, but you got to get that thumbnail right. It does. It does take time.
Longer. Yeah. It takes longer. Yeah. 2014, November 2014.
Yeah.
You won an ASCAP award.
I did. So the ASCAP. So basically, I won a songwriting competition called The Collective with ASCAP in 2014, and that got me like some money, accolades, and a chance to perform at the ASCAP Centennial Awards. They were celebrating 100 years. So they asked me to perform. They asked me to perform my song "St. Louis" by name. They like requested that song, which was like just awesome for me as an artist to hear like that. My original music, because they could have asked me to like come and like sing a cover or something, but that they wanted me to sing a song I wrote. That meant so much to me as like a songwriter. And they were honoring so many different people. Garth Brooks and Joan Baez and Stevie Wonder was one of the people that they honored, and he performed. And so, we got to be on the same stage, and I got to meet him and talk with him, and he remembered me as one of the artists and told me he loved my song, St. Louis, and he told me never stop singing about love. And that was a real moment for me in my career, just, to be in that room and not just invited, but to be on the stage to entertain a crowd of everybody who's important. It just told me keep going, because there's so many, way more closed doors in this business than open, way more. The doors sometimes will slam in your face too, and you have to say, I love this and I'm going to keep doing it, and that's not always easy. There's some days where you're like, man, I'm about to just do something else. Like, it's just natural. So those moments along the journey, there's moments that really put things into perspective for you, and that was definitely one of those career shifting moments for me.
I have one last question. We talk music, we talk marriage, love, relationship,
right?
But we haven't talked money.
Okay.
I just got one question. How important, would you say that money affects a relationship? That's one of the leading causes of divorces, breakups, things like that.
So I think the money question circles back to communication, right? I think that a lot of marriages fail because of money, because a lot of times the couples don't talk about it. So something that we say on our Married to Music podcast is like, you need to check your financial temperature, right? It's like your health. If you don't go to the doctor, you could have cancer. This has happened to so many people. Like, they think they're fine and they're living life, and then one day they, oh, my stomach, oh, I got a pain. It's a month later, this pain is still here. You go and you have a freaking tumor growing in you for years, where if you would have checked you 2-3 years ago, it was a tiny dot, and they could have just given you something where it could go away. But now, since you've never looked at it, it's this huge mass and it's going to take you out. And that's what happens in marriage a lot of times. Money is just not talked about. You know, like you could be in debt, growing into debt, and you just don't say anything. And then next thing you know, it's this huge thing. Your house is about to be taken away, or your kid don't have money for college, or, you know, you can't, the car is getting repossessed, and you didn't communicate these things, right? So I think it's easier to be broke together if you know you're broke and you guys are figuring out a plan. You can't do better if you don't talk about it and know about it. So I think first of all, you have to communicate when it comes to your money, your finances, your goals, your financial goals. I talk about them early on. Your spending, you can't be spending, running up the credit card. And then next thing you know, you need your spouse to bail you out because you guys never talked about it, right? So I think that's one of the main reasons why money gets in the way. And then, you know, I think for men especially, money is attached to pride, right? Men are supposed to be the providers. That's what our society says. And there's certain societal norms that are not going away anytime soon, you know. That's why women are constantly fighting to be heard and to make more money, because it's going to take time for these things to change, right? Men make more. Men are the breadwinners. So I think that's also a big issue, is if a man feels incompetent financially, it's a prideful sore on him, and it can be hard for him to, you know, easier for him to just say, forget it. Let me just provide for myself and not have to worry about taking on the responsibility of that I've taken on, you know. So relationships, I think, end for that reason as well. And then, of course, there's some women, too, who, I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke, okay? So if he had money and loses it or whatever, that can cause the relationship to end as well. But I think the bottom line is really talking about it.
And as far as, like, the management of it, it's
yes.
not just, you know, like you just said, the gold digger aspect. Oh, he got this money off in the...
Right.
That's not love.
That's not love. I'm about to spend all his money.
You know, like you said, talk about like how we spending, when we spending money, and how much we got setting budgets and things like that.
Yes, how much we're gonna save for vacation, and you know, really just talking about it, I think, can make a huge difference and save a lot of marriages.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's we halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in store? Any announcements that's coming up pretty soon?
Yeah. So the end of this month, June 25th, I'm doing the Black Wall Street Festival in the Wellston Loop, okay, with Marquise Knox and Tef Poe. We're like the 3 headliners. So that's coming up. I go on at 4. And then Music at the Intersection, which is like the big festival coming up in September with Erykah Badu and Gary Clark Jr. I'm performing on September 11th, opening for Gary Clark Jr. for that festival. What else? Working on new music. I have an EP that's gonna come out with this UK based group called Liquid, where we have like 6 records that are almost done. It's like breakbeat, so it's like almost like EDM. Very different sound for me, but I've loved this sound my whole life. Grew up on like loving super pop, high energy EDM type music. So I'm excited to put that out. So that's coming soon. And then I'm producing a big show in October. So I'm not sure of the date yet, but it's going to be at the Grandel Theater. It's going to be in the theater. It's really cool. I can't wait to roll out like how that show is going to play out, because it's going to be different than anything you've seen from me or anybody else. I'm gonna just say that. So yeah, those are some of the things.
Yeah. Well, shout out to social media so they can follow you and keep up with these things.
Yeah, so my website is everythinglydia.com. You can go to all my socials from there. TikTok, Everything Lydia. And Instagram is Miss Caesar. I'm working on changing that to Everything Lydia too, so it's all the same. But it's just been Miss Caesar for so long. I like have a love for it, and people like see me and they call me that Miss Caesar. What's up? So, but Miss Caesar on Instagram. So those are the three main places to find me. Keep up with me.
All right. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.